The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
So there was this kid, this is a true story, that apparently he didn't forget what the Malach taught him. So Rav Katz says that he heard the story from Rabbi Yisrael Moshe Mendel, who heard the story from that person. And he wrote it down word for word. And here's the story, okay? And the story goes back, the Belzer Rav Chaim Bracha was still alive. So I guess it was about Tafshin Yudal, right? It was 60 years ago. And apparently there's this cute little boy that goes to Kitta Aleph. Kitta Aleph is pre-1A in most schools. Cute little kid, he comes to Kitta Aleph, he's a pre-1A kid. He's a Zisa kid. He's a kid like any other kid. He likes to play with Lego, but I don't think they had Lego in Yerushalayim in those years. They probably played with papitas or whatever they did. And he screams and cries when his sister is touches his toy. He's a regular kid. And he comes to Cheder. And he's sitting in Cheder and something very strange happens. What happens? Something very strange happens. The Rebbe starts learning Chumash, and the kid finds himself like quoting the rest of the parsha. So the Rebbe says, and the kid goes, El Moshe, and it keeps going and going and going. And the Rebbe notices this. This is a pre-1A kid. And he calls him up. And he says to him, what did you say? He goes, I don't know. And the Rebbe started again with Yikra Moshe, and he quotes the whole Yikra till Sheni. Then the Rebbe turns to Sheni, and he continues, and the kid quotes till Shlishi. So the Rebbe got very upset. Why? Because he said the father is trying to pump this kid. He's probably has him on, on steroids, and making him, chazer, the whole thing should sound like, what is he doing to the kid? So he said, what's the call him the manal? He's about to blow up, and he calls him, and now you have to talk to his father, Meshuggah, the father. He's pumping. What is he making? They're sitting with his pre-1A kid 24/7, getting him to learn Chumash again and again. What is he doing? So the manal says, something doesn't add up over here. He says, you sure? He says, I'm sure. So he calls in the kid. And the manal takes a chumash. He writes to who the manal was, and he starts just randomly going from parsha to parsha. He starts the parsha, and the kid finishes the parsha. Then the manal, and the little kid says, I don't know. It just comes, like there's Maida Aniso, And then he opens up a Tanakh, and he starts reading psukim from Yoel and Micha and and Hosea, and the kid finishes the whole parsha. So the manal's like white in his face. Then he says to the Rebbe, "There's no way this is not natural. There's something it's." And the father didn't even know about it, because how would he know about it until the kid started hearing Chumash? And suddenly this became like an unbelievable sensation. And then they went to Mishnayos. And they started a Mishnah, and the kid finished the rest of the Perek. And then they went to Gemara, and they started a Gemara, and he finished the rest of the Daf, the Yerushalmi, Tosefta. So at one point, the Manal said to him, maybe this is like a not normally brilliant episode. I don't know, they say these things about the Vilna Gaon when he was 4 years old. So he wanted to ask the kid in Yoni da Alma to see how smart he is. So he says to him, so what do you think about the Democrats, restructuring package? What's it called? What's it called? What's it called?
Build back better.
To build back the economy, And the kid looks at him, huh? And he tells him, what do you think about global warming? And the kid what he's talking about? What? So this kid does not seem to have any particular intelligence higher than an average pre-1A kid. But he's like packing it in. So he writes there that he heard from his Zayda, the son B'Tala Rebbe came, and he quoted to him Zohar. And the kid finished the piece of Zohar. But he even says he quoted the Zohar in Lashon Kodesh, because he was reading from a Hebrew one, and the kid was like confused. And he picked it up, but he continued in Aramish, in Aramaic, because that's what the Zohar was written. And he even says, that's what Negeya to us, I think, tonight. He started pieces of Arachayim HaKadosh, and the kid finished it. Wow. Okay? So there's a lot of stories about which Sefer he did know, which Sefer he didn't know. If you understand the politics, that'll go there. We won't get into that. And the kid was brought to the big Rabbanim in Yerushalayim at that time. Rav Pinchas Epstein was the Ravid of the Eidach Reidus. And he's like, kid is quoting away Gemaras and Mishnayos and Sifra, Sifri, Mechilta, like, wow. They brought him to Rav Nosson Gestatner, the biggest poskim of the generation. Rabbi Aaron Kotler, Zechat Tzadik Levracha, came to Eretz Yisrael. He sat there, he went to see this. And it goes on and on and on. But he was a regular kid. He wanted to play by recess. You know, there's a whole line of Rosh Hashivas that want to fire him. It's like, leave me alone already. The Steipler, look in the Sefer Chai Olam, in the Steipler Sefer Chai Olam, Soif Perik Yud Beis. The Steipler writes about a Yeled Hapela. He writes Ben Dalet Shonim. That are saying things that Shaloshama Oznav Begilgul Zeh. That it's impossible that his ears could have heard in this Gilgul. Not Shaykh that his ears could have heard in this Gilgul. Not possible. So he says, Reb Aaron Leib Bakst sent a letter to Reb Chaskel. I think that's what it says there. And he says, is this story true? So Reb Chaskel, very interesting. Shows you how everyone has a different spin on things. And there's so much to learn. So Reb Chaskel answered that the story is true. He said, my daughter lives on the block. It's true. My son-in-law, they said, they stopped him. It's just the whole Svarim Shanker. Take out a sefer, he's going for it. From beginning to end. I don't know the Liach HaTzibur there, I don't know if you knew. But I don't know if the Yid and the Blat and the Hamadiyah, that I don't know. But everything else, meaning. So he asked Rav Chaskel, so why don't you go yourself and like, you know, listen to this, like Torah and Hashemayim, but this is it. This kid didn't forget what the Malach taught him. It's a more digazach what Rav Chaskel writes. I think it's very important. He says he's not going to see the kid. He believes the story 100%, but he's not going. Why is he not going? Because then his emunah is going to be based on this kid. And that's not what your emunah is supposed to be based on. It's not supposed to be based on some wonder kid. Your emunah has to be based on Messiah from Allah, from Har Sinai, the Eibishter gave the Torah to Klal Yisrael. He says it's going to be so nispal from the children, it'll misdirect where his emunah is coming from. That's why he doesn't want to go there. That's why he doesn't want to go there. Lamaisa, the father of this kid, was not very happy about the whole thing. I mean, the poor guy is going with his kid to the green to buy an ice cream, and thousands of people are coming to Rosh Hashivas. This was 70 years ago. Can you imagine today what would be? Social media, can you imagine? Like, you know, I can't even think of it, you know. Think that it would plots all the lines of Kol Mavasser and like the Hamadiyah would come out with a stack, like thousands of people would run it. Wouldn't work, you know. So the father went to the Belzerov's Chayil Bracha, and he said, it's not good for my kid. It's not good. He wants him to be a normal kid. He is a normal kid. And the Belzerov understood the father very well. And there's different versions of the story, but this is the story that he says, that he heard from the person himself. The Belzerov took the child, and he opened up Brachas Gemara, and the Belzerov started saying, Me'emasai Korin Hashema, and the kid picked it up, right? That's an easy one, Brachas, right? You know, it's the Sefri. And as he started to say, the Belzerov said to him, enough. No more. It's enough. And he gave him a glat. He said, enough, no more. So, and he told the father, okay, it's taken care of, but don't talk about it. Don't talk about it anymore. And Kachava, he became a regular kid again. He was a regular kid. But it was very clear that there was this phenomenon. So, try to understand that whatever was in this kid is in us. It's just that it's in our subconscious. But it's there. Try to understand. The only difference in this kid and every single one of us is that, for whatever reason, the Hashgacha lifted the window shade.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org